everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie if you are new, and today I have a little chit chat video for you, just basically telling you what podcasts I've been loving lately. I just like doing these little videos because I think it's quite nice to share what gems you found. I've kind of got you set up in a weird way here. I've kind of got a little coffee table, little tiny like nest of table on the kitchen island with my camera on top, because before I was trying to balance you on a few books and the camera fell off and I had to catch it and I caught it thankfully and you didn't break, so that was fine. So yeah, basically I'm going to try and talk you through the podcasts I'm loving, why I love them. I'll link them all in the description box below, as well as any accompanying items that podcast has. I will link those links below. They're not affiliate links, they're just me sharing what I love. Also, as I'm talking through these, I will try and pop the picture of the podcast up on screen. My editing's not the best, so I'll try and figure out how to do that for you. But yeah, I'm actually, just while I'm talking to you, gonna put some hand cream on. This one, because my hands are like the Sahara Desert, so I'm just gonna pop it on. Yeah, so let's go. Let me open my shows up. So I have a few podcasts that I listen to. I've kind of like binged listened to them, either through lockdown, working from home, because I do a lot of analytics. I like to like block out any surround sound, but I don't like quiet. It's my anxious mind needs something in its ears. I don't do very well with silence. The only time I can have quiet is when I'm reading, and that's because I read and I hear the words in my head, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I don't like having silence in my day-to-day life, so I'll pop a podcast in normally. So yeah, these are kind of ones that I've been listening to through lockdown, working from home, going on dog walks, long car journeys. And yeah, I'm all caught up now with pretty much all of them, apart from one new one that I've started this week. But I'm all caught up and I just wait for the weekly releases, and yeah, so I've had to try and find a new podcast basically. And I'm very picky with my podcasts and what I listen to. So I've got a couple of kind of like comedy ones, which I love, have been loving for a couple of years. And I've got some true crime ones because I love true crime. It's a bit of a weird one because I have to be in the mood to listen to true crime, but when I'm in the mood I can binge listen to episodes for hours. I just find it really intriguing. I love detective novels, I love detective series, things like that. So true crime and listening to how kind of like the criminals are caught, what tactics were used and things like that. I love that. So I've got a fair few true crime ones on the list. So if that's not your bag, that's fine. But I do love yeah, so basically let's get into it. It's meant to be a short video and I'm already 5 minutes of rambling in. Anyway, this is what you all come for, isn't it? To watch me have a mental breakdown live on the internet. My first top comedy podcast is a podcast called Shagged, Married, Annoyed, and it's by Chris and Rosie Ramsey. Now, they are a married couple. They now have 2 children. They started this podcast, I think, 3.5 years ago. And it's hilarious. Chris Ramsey is a comedian. If you don't know, he's so funny. They're both from the northeast. So I think the accent and some of the phrases that they use are just hilarious. I've never laughed so much in all my life. Sorry, Fox is asleep, so I'm just keeping an eye on him. Yeah, and basically the structure is they basically have a watch your beef section. So basically they come to each other each week with something that the other person does that annoys them, which I think actually is quite a healthy way. If you've got that kind of relationship, it's quite a healthy way to tell your partner that they're doing something that annoys you, but in a positive way. So it's like, this is this one thing that annoys me, and then they can try and like change it, adapt it type thing. Yeah, and I think if you start the phrase, so me and John have actually started doing this, not every week, but if there's something that annoys us or gets under our skin, we say, I've got a beef. And then we start it with that, and then it's like a light-hearted, this annoys me, but not enough for like, it's not like a row annoy type thing. So they also have questions from the public, which is basically like the public writing in with their like disgusting stories. And it's so funny. So I would highly, highly recommend giving those a listen. Go back to the beginning, watch them, listen to them all in order, because there's some, they refer back to previous episodes. They also have a book out, which I will link below. I've read that book, Shagged, Married, Annoyed. It is so funny. And you actually end up reading it in their accents in your head. So love that. They also, yesterday as I'm filming this, but Monday the 16th, had their first episode of their new TV show, The Chris and Rosie Ramsey Show, which is on BBC Two on Monday nights at 9 p.m. So you can go back and watch that on the BBC iPlayer, because I'm not too sure when this video is going up, but I think they're doing 6 episodes in this series, and it's hilarious. I watched it last night and I was crying laughing. It was so funny. So yeah, I love them both. I follow them both on Instagram. Rosie is hilarious on Instagram, and she does such creative brand work as well. I love that. So yeah, go and listen to the podcast, buy their book. The book's been out for about a year, I think now, possibly. Or 6 months or so, but buy their book basically, listen to the podcast, and go and check out their TV show. I love them. Keep it up, guys. My next comedy one, and final comedy one, is Rob Beckett and Josh Widdicombe's Parenting Hell, formerly known as Lockdown Parenting Hell. Rob and Josh are both comedians. They are hilariously funny. Rob also has a feature spot on 8 out of 10 Cats. I know he's on the Countdown one, so maybe it's just the Countdown one. And Josh has a spot on The Last Leg TV show, so if you know them from there, then that's brilliant. But they are obviously hilarious stand-ups also within their own right. Sorry, next door having some decking work done. Yes, so they started this podcast in lockdown. At the time, Rob had 2 children, 2 little girls, and Josh had 1 child, 1 daughter, and then in the last year or so he's had a son, so he's now got 2 children as well. They basically bring you parenting stories from a dad's perspective, but in a funny way. And yeah, they're just hilarious. Like I said, they started in lockdown because obviously theatres were shut for about a year, if not more, so they couldn't gig, they couldn't tour. And it was just a good way to kind of for them to debrief on how they were dealing with parenting during lockdown. We started listening to this podcast just after we had our son Fox at the end of last year, and I've binge listened to every episode, and I've just caught up on today's episode as well when I was on the walk, which was hilarious. They started off, sorry, my iPhone's asking me for a password now. They started off doing interviews with other comedians, and they're hilarious. And then they introduced a 2-episode a week rule. So on a Tuesday, they release like a catch-up episode where they both catch up with each other on what they've been doing in the week. And they also catch up on some emails or Instagrams, and yeah, it's just an hour of laughs basically. And then the Friday episode is when they have a little bit of a catch up between the two of them, and then their interview with their comedian, celebrity, parent type thing. They also cover a lot of subjects that are in their interviews that are quite delicate, so things like IVF journeys and things like that. So it's really nice to hear people speak so candidly about their journeys and their struggles, and yeah, I just think it's a brilliantly funny podcast, but also with a serious twist to make you aware of what people go through. So yes, I will link their podcast in the description box below. They also have a book coming out in October, I believe. No, September. Which is available to pre-order on the Waterstones website. You can pre-order a signed copy or an unsigned copy, I think. I don't know about that. Possibly. But yeah, that's available to pre-order. I've pre-ordered mine already. So yeah, then they also do arena tours. I think they've got one coming up in 2023. So yeah, I will link the book down below also. Also Shagged, Married, Annoyed did an arena tour which sold out ridiculously quick. So I'm hoping that they do another one so that I can go. But yeah, I love both of those podcasts. If you need a laugh and a pick-me-up, there, just spot on. So yes. Okay, my next one is a bit more of a sporty one. It's also quite funny. Excuse me. It's my brother-in-law's podcast. So if those of you who don't know, my brother-in-law, Phil Roper, is a professional hockey player. He plays for England and Great Britain, and he started a podcast a couple of years ago during lockdown with his friend Brendan Creed, and that podcast is called Let's Stick Together. It's a hockey podcast, but they also talk about other sports, and they just generally have really good banter with each other. So they did a series in lockdown, and then they recently brought it back. So they've just done another series recently, I think with about 5 episodes in. So that's really good. This second series has actually had a guest on as well, Obitchuary, who is a Dutch hockey player, Dutch international hockey player. Phil was actually out playing in Eindhoven for the last 6 months. So yeah, he's back now, back playing with England and GB, but he was playing with a team over in Eindhoven for the last 6 months, which he really enjoyed, I believe. And yeah, he played with Joop, so he was on the podcast as well, and the 3 of them together are hilarious. So yeah, if you're into hockey, into sport, definitely give that a listen. Let's Stick Together. There's a series on there for you to binge listen to, and yeah, I will link that in the description box below for you. Okay, we're on to true crime now. we're on to true crime, we're on to my bag. First and most favourite true crime podcast is Morbid. It's Morbid. Ash and Alaina are hilarious, but they also cover a lot of true crime topics so beautifully. They always focus on the victims and not the criminal involved, the murderer, the rapist, whatever. Yeah, they cover it beautifully and in such a respectful way. It's just very kind of like poetic, basically, the way that they tell these victims' stories. But yeah, they've got hundreds of episodes out. I can't actually remember. So they've got 318 episodes out at the moment. I've listened to all of them twice. That's how much I love them. The first few episodes, they admittedly say themselves sound like they're underwater due to the microphone quality. Push through those, listen to them, push through them, because it's a brilliant podcast. They are just, they're just a vibe. They're just so much fun. Ash is a hairdresser and Alaina is an autopsy technician. So you get kind of like both sides. So you get like the scientific side from Alaina, so she can talk you through like the stages of like rigor mortis and stuff like that, if that's your bag, if that's what you like to. I think she did a whole episode on it actually, on like, because I think they covered the body farms and like the work they do, so she kind of like discussed all of the different things. Yeah, and it's brilliant. They do a lot of live shows, or they did pre-COVID. I think they're coming back now. They are in America, so if you're in America and you can get to a live show, that's brilliant. Over lockdown, they were doing virtual live shows. Unfortunately, I didn't log into any of those because of the time difference. I would have had to have woken up at like 3 a.m, our time, and being pregnant during the live shows and things like that. It was I was tired, so I just couldn't get myself up. But hopefully I can log into a virtual live show if they do them again soon. But yeah, I love them. Also, quick plug to Alaina's book. She has written a book and it's going to be so incredible. I believe this one is one that's out in October. I could have got Parent in Hell and this one mixed up on the months, but September, October time. Pre-order it now, please. It's going to be amazing. It's called The Butcher and the Wren, and yeah, I'm so excited for it. So excited. So I will link the book down below. You can buy it from Waterstones if you're based in the UK, and yeah, I think you can also purchase it from Amazon if you're elsewhere in the world. But yeah, I wanted to get a signed copy, so I pre-ordered it from Waterstones. Yeah, so I will link their podcast and the book down below. They are also so big in the podcast game now. They host a lot of other podcasts, which I will discuss now. My second favourite crime podcast or true crime podcast is called Crime Countdown. These are released every Monday, and these are also hosted by Ash and Alaina, and they basically count down from 10. They have 10 cases or 10 points, bullet points about a case each week, which they don't know. They've not the podcast research gods have given them this information, and they do 5 each and they count down from 10. And yeah, it's so good. Some of the things on there as well are crazy, but I'd definitely give that a listen because that's another one with Ash and Alaina. Let's have a look what my next favourite one is. Okay, my next favourite one is Obitchuary. Okay, now this is hosted by Spencer Henry and Madison Reyes, and they are hilarious together. I laugh out loud every time Madison has a laughing fit. I can be in the worst mood ever and she laughs and I laugh. She's also my birthday twin. We were both born on the same day, so it's quite nice. They are both based in LA, so again they're an American podcast, but they are hilariously funny, again covering true crime, taboo subjects, and yeah, they are also doing live shows. I think their next one they've got coming up is the 4th of August. So if you are American based, I would definitely go check them out. It's in LA, I think. If I can find the information, I will pop it in the description box below along with a link to their podcast. But yeah, definitely give them a listen because it's just so funny. They basically cover some obituaries that they find, some of them really, really touching, some of them absolutely shockingly spiteful and hilarious. They also have a section called Dumb Ass Criminals. I can be walking the dog and they'll go, "It's time for some dumb ass criminals," and I'll say it out loud while I'm walking the dog with my earbud in and my hair down, so people just think I'm crazy, but I don't care. So they have that section as well, which is hilarious, so funny. So yeah, please give them a listen as well. I wish my Spotify would stop doing this. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go to my last one. Oh no, second to last one, because I've got kind of like two new ones that I'm listening to. But one that I'm caught up on is another podcast one, which is Rituals. Okay, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. This one's Rituals. So this covers all things like spooky games. Like they covered a section on Ouija board. This week they've also covered things like voodoo. Yeah, just everything. Like, it's a fairly new podcast as well, so there's only a few episodes currently, but they are brilliantly funny. They bring you insight into anything spiritual and ritualistic, and if that's your bag, then definitely check them out. I'll pop the link in the description box below. And then quickly, the next two that I'm currently kind of like dabbling in is another Morbid hosted podcast through the Morbid network, which is called Cult Litre. So Cult Litre, and that one is hosted by Spencer Henry, who co-hosts Obitchuary. It's another true crime podcast. I've only listened to a couple so far, but I like the vibe that he's going down, so I'll keep you posted on how I find it, but I will leave the link below. And then the last one is the new one that I'm listening to, which again is another American duo. I've only listened to 2 episodes so far, and I quite like the vibe they're going for with it. And it's called Dude, That's Fucked Up. So again, I will pop all the podcast icons on the screen as I've spoken about them. I'll pop them up. I will link everything in the description box below. Dude, That's Fucked Up is just, I feel like it's going to be quite a funny, light-hearted podcast that talks about just really weird things. So like the last episode I listened to, they were talking about parasites. So if squeamish things aren't your bag, then maybe don't listen to true crimey stuff. But yeah, I would definitely give them a listen, because I get the vibe that they're going to be really, really funny. So yeah, that's all the podcasts that I've been listening to recently and that I'm loving. This video, because I rambled on, is nearly half an hour, so go me. Not really. But yeah, I will link everything in the description box below that you need. Book links, podcast links, If I can find merch links, I will link those. I will link any live show links that I can find. I'll link them all below. If not, pop me a comment and I will try and find whatever it is you're after. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up because it really supports my channel. Please don't forget to tick the little notification bell and hit that subscribe button and join this crazy eclectic family that I'm trying to create here on YouTube. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.